influential, and they were marginalized. Right now, in a democratic society, they could organize themselves, and many of the tribal peoples now align themselves with the so-called Maoists. And there are only Maoists in India now. No longer any Maoists in China. What is the name of that particular movement in India? Well, anyway. So these tribal movements become very powerful. However, if we try to not just to remember, to re-examine the mentality of the indigenous people towards nature, there's a lot of things we can learn. And so one theologian made the observation that the prophet in the 21st century, he talked about the 20th century, the prophet in the 21st century turned out to be the earth. Because the earth is going to tell us what is doable, what is not doable. But the teachers may turn out to be indigenous peoples. We learn from them in terms of their self-understanding, their community, their relationship to nature, and their respect for the environment around them. According to one legend, I never studied that, in Hawaii, and when the tribe decided to cut down a tree, a huge tree, in order to build a canoe for a number of people, and it was such a serious matter, the group would gather together, meditate, study, analyze. Eventually, a human being would be sacrificed. Often, one of the daughters of the king, of the tribal leader. You have to sacrifice a human being in order to get something from nature and for human consumption. Of course, this may be exaggerated. I don't know the exact case. You know the seriousness of this concern for nature, and not to do anything to hurt nature. And of course, another extremely important I'd say psychocultural idea that is required for environmental regeneration is a view to the future. None of us is really future-oriented, and it's very difficult to imagine people. Now, normally we think about, say, 3 or 4 years, and even for a government, one of the superpowers in the world, we normally think about 4 years, at most 8 years. And for some universities, great universities, we're able to think in terms of 10 years. But normally, you have a plan, you have to get some kind of result within 3 years. And so the time horizon is very short. And yet the environment, the degradation of the environment, the change of the situation is so slow. Look at the global warming. You have to do analysis for more than thousands of years to test the rise of the temperature, maybe half a degree or a degree, and of course reach a certain kind of degree, then we're in trouble. So that kind of horizon is extremely long. Yes.
We talked a bit about inertia during the conference.
Yes.
And how optimistic are you that these religions will actually adapt in the way that, the future-oriented way that you just described? Because
you talk about the inertia of
right.
others. Yeah. This is probably out of desperation. Because from the Confucian point of view, you look at the human situation here now, a concrete human being, in terms of the human species. We don't have a lot of resources confronting the threat of the environment. So these so-called spiritual resources are powerful resources, precisely because they have inertia, they have all kinds of other problems. And that's the reason the scientists, not just the religionists, appeal to these religious leaders, help us out. We have a problem, and that problem needs to have a collaboration of all of you. Because unless you can, for example, unless the Christian theologians really manage to persuade the Christians to rethink about the Genesis, if we just assume we have power over the earth. Knowledge is not the wisdom, knowledge is power. Power is demonstrated in terms of ability to shape. If that particular idea is not changed, and in the Christian tradition, in the deep sense of theologically deep sense of the Christian tradition, it is not hospitable to their mind. And that's true with the Confucian tradition. If you still subscribe to the notion, I'm not saying, I'm not defending Confucianism or trying to be apologetic. What is happening in China today, in terms of environmental degradation, the incredible power, at the same time, the restlessness to change the environment. You build a city, you don't build a city based upon organic communities. You build a city based upon leveling the area, get rid of all the people, build a gigantic structure, hopefully people come back. And even, recently there's an awful situation, a movie, in order to get a set, trying to make a movie, and they decided to also level a large group of forest in order to do that. Later, of course, totally unacceptable. So they stopped it. But of course, part of nature's ruin.